At Bulldog Stadium in Fresno, California, the Nebraska Cornhuskers with a quick strike, 70-yard touchdown on the opening possession. Tommy Armstrong to Jordan Westerkamp to take the early lead on Fresno State, who has won 13 straight at home. This is Dylan Root, fumbles the football, recovered by Fresno State. Now let's go back to the touchdown on 3rd and 9, Aaron Taylor.
Well, Carter, Fresno State was showing that they were going to blitz, and then they pulled off, and Jordan Westerkamp left the line of scrimmage when the guy that was defending him, Stratton Brown, had his back turned to the line of scrimmage. Some miscommunication early on led to an early Nebraska touchdown. This is exactly the type of execution that they lacked a week ago against McNeese State.
Nebraska comes in 2-0. Fresno State is 0-2. This is Brian Burrell at quarterback for Fresno State. We do not expect to see Brandon Connect. Burrell's first pass complete, but minimal gain. In fact, a loss as Williams is tackled by Daniel Davey. A chance to look at tonight's Chick-fil-A starting lineup for the Fresno State Bulldogs. 0-2 with losses to USC and Utah. It will be Brian Burrell getting his 3rd start. Brandon Connect, the Duke transfer, injured, both rib and hand injuries. So Brian Burrell, it will be expected to take it wire to wire for the Bulldogs tonight. Slant incomplete, already 3rd and long. Incomplete to Greg Watson. So the rest of the Fresno State offense, Josh Harper, the 5th-year senior, dangerous weapon, 20 receiving yards from 2000 in his Fresno State career.
Sustaining drive is going to be extremely important because Brian Burrell needs the help of some of the weapons that he has. Martez Waller and Josh Quezada. They can't abandon the run game, Carter. They're already down by 7. This is a big 3rd down for this team.
Burrell incomplete. There is a flag down off the hands of Aaron Peck.
Offense, number 54. Penalties decline. 4th down.
Ron Snodgrass, our referee tonight. A terrible start for Fresno State. Give up a 70-yard touchdown on defense. Go 3 and out on offense.
The very worst thing that could have happened to them. So now it's going to be incumbent upon their defense to be able to find a way to stop this high-powered Nebraska offense. But already early on in this ball game, it appears that the Nebraska Cornhuskers came ready to play.
Swanson will hit it near the goal line. DeMornay Pearsonell from the 45. Pearsonell across midfield to the Fresno State 45. There is a flag down. Tyree Wilson there on the stop.
Illegal block in the back. And the receiving team, number 27. 10-yard penalty. 1st down. Timeout.
Nebraska football next. The first time that Tommy Armstrong and the Cornhusker offense touched it. 70-yard TD to Jordan Westerkamp. 7-0 Huskers. It is all red around Bulldog Stadium here in Fresno, California. The home folks wearing red. And, of course, Nebraska is always big red. As many as 20,000 Nebraska fans traveled out to Fresno, California to be here for the 2nd meeting between the Huskers and the Bulldogs. Tommy Armstrong Jr., the sophomore QB. A touchdown strike. First time Nebraska had it. Amir Abdullah finds a huge hole, and here goes Abdullah for the 2nd huge Nebraska touchdown in as many possessions. This one goes for 57. This is just what the Husker fans were looking for after the scare a week ago in Lincoln from the Cowboys of McNeese State.
Well, Carter, we talk to these coaching staffs every week, and so far Nebraska's done exactly what it is they said they wanted to do, which was start fast and get big plays. Fresno State, on the other hand, wanted to be able to force some turnovers and limit those explosive plays. But so far it's been all Big Red tonight, baby. Carter, let's go back and take a look at that touchdown. This is just going to be a stretch zone. Keep your eye on the linebackers who both get blocked. There's going to be a huge hole. This is zone blocking where linemen work up to second levels. Amir Abdullah has the vision and the burst to be patient, slow to, fast through, makes the man miss, and the rest is history. Turns on the afterburners, and it was 6.
So the first Nebraska touchdown goes 70 yards. Armstrong to Westerkamp and Abdullah, who had the spectacular catch and run for the game winner a week ago. This one goes for 57 after a 58-yarder won it a week ago against the Cowboys.
So yards per carry, he's doing pretty good tonight.
Fresno State in the first quarter has been outscored 52-0 by USC, Utah, and now Nebraska.
Carter, we talked about it earlier, but when you get down 14-0, it limits one of your aspects of your offense, which is the running game. That's going to be a lot of pressure for the brand new quarterback, Brian Burrell. When he doesn't have the threat of a running game, it's going to be really easy for Nebraska to pin its ears back and come after the quarterback. I would expect them to dial the pressure up from here on out.
3-and-out first time Fresno State had the football. And again, Brandon Cannett, the fifth-year senior graduate transfer from Duke, who was more effective running the offense. He's unavailable for the Bulldogs tonight. So it's Brian Burrell, the junior from Bakersfield. The numbers early favoring the Cornhuskers.
Just a bit. Burrell's a big, physical, prototypical type pocket passer, not necessarily as mobile as Cannett, but they're going to need his arm and clean release tonight.
Burrell gives to Martez Waller. Manages to find about 4 yards before Corey Cooper brings him down. Chick-fil-A starting lineup for the Nebraska defense. And a big addition for the Nebraska defense. Randy Gregory is back in there. Surgery on the knee August 31st. He missed the McNeese game. Began season with a groin injury, but the talented junior back in at defensive end.
Yeah, and you'll notice that he's lined up over the right tackle. Not his normal position, but they like that matchup. We'll see how that plays out tonight.
Burrell has to scramble out of bounds after maybe a yard. Forced out by Josh Mitchell to make it 3rd down and about 6. Well, I'll call it 3rd and 5 for Fresno State.
This is 3rd and medium, and defensive coordinator John Papuchas told us on 3rd and medium to 3rd and longs he wanted to be able to try and get after the quarterback to pressure from the edge, from the middle, kind of make him nervous and keep him off his spot.
Burrell on the roll, complete for 1st down. That's Greg Watson, the converted quarterback, who in fact might be your backup quarterback for Fresno State tonight. The first down of the game for the Bulldogs. Fresno State tries to go hurry up after the 1st down.
Tempo is something that they said they wanted to improve on from a week ago and use that as an asset.
Screen Aaron Peck near another 1st down.
To be able to try to keep this Nebraska defense not only tired but confused and to not let them sub. And what really helps them is getting 1st downs. They were close on that one, but they got to hit the gas pedal here.
Slant incomplete. Intended for Josh Harper, knocked free by Josh Mitchell. Senior back in California. Mitchell's from Corona, California. So this is now 3rd and 1.
Fresno State's got a very experienced, seasoned, big offensive line. 3rd and 1. Let's see if they trust those big boys up front.
Waller has the 1st down into Nebraska territory for the first time for the Bulldogs.
Justin Northern, the right tackle, had a tremendous block here, getting inside his defensive lineman and almost tipping him over and put him on his back. That gives offensive lines lots of confidence early on if you can keep that up.
Waller only 1 on 1st down. An experienced group for Fresno State for the offensive line. They gave up 7 sacks a week ago against Utah.
And Carter, this is a unit that only gave up 11 sacks in all of 2013. This is not the start that this experienced group wanted or expected.
Waller again. Nothing much. 3rd and long coming up. Malik Collins leads the way for Nebraska. And oh, by the way, the guy who was playing quarterback last year for Fresno State is now the starting quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. That's Derek Carr.
And in week 1 looked pretty good for his Raider team in his first start as a rookie. I bet they sure wish they had him back here now.
Brian Burrell facing 3rd and 8. Second possession for Fresno State. Pressured. Burrell has to heave it to the sideline to make it 4th down.
Watch over the left tackle at the top of your screen. Just an inside swim move and overset by Alex Fafita, the junior from right here in California in Hayward. It's nice enough to introduce himself to Brian Burrell. Just a great move off that outside edge by that defense.
Burrell in the offense stays on the field for 4th and 8. Pooch punt. Batted into the end zone. Touchback. A 14-0 start for Nebraska. 2 points on the board for Fresno State. Illegal batting called against David Santos on this punt. Watch 41. Santos clearly knocks the ball into the end zone. It was originally called a touchback. Illegal batting is called after the officials get together out the back of the end zone for a safety. 2 points on the board for Fresno State. The rule book says on page 98, a ball in player possession may not be batted forward by a player of that team. Nebraska is still in possession of the football on the punt. Therefore, flag on Santos. 2 points on the board for Fresno State on the safety.
And it effectively ends up being a turnover because now Nebraska is going to have to kick the football back to Fresno. This could be the break that the Bulldogs need, and maybe it's the start of another meltdown by Nebraska on the road.
Bondi's kickoff taken inside the 15 by Dylan Root. Across the 40 to the 42. So 2 points on the board in the first quarter for Fresno State. An odd way to get your first points of the season in the first quarter.
Carter, to call this Fresno State offense a challenge would be an understatement. They have really struggled to be able to move the football early on in games, not only on the first drive of games, but in the entire first quarter. Sometimes the first points are the hardest to get. Let's see what they can do with this here, but they have tremendous field position. If Fresno State wants to get themselves in the game, they've got to score a touchdown here.
Brian Burrell play action. Downfield, deep shot for Harper. Overshot him, incomplete. 2 Nebraska defenders there. It was Mitchell and Nate Gary covering up Harper.
You often hear coaches talk about sudden change, Carter. When you get a turnover, when something happens, try and stick the dagger in even deeper. So I like the thought to take it downfield, but what that also does is it brings up 2nd and long. Now you're behind the chains again, so they need to execute here on these next couple downs as they go into a 3-by-2 empty formation.
Quick hitter, complete. That's Watson to the 50. Needing about 4 more on 3rd down. And Joshua Kalu, the true freshman from Houston, on the stop.
Watson had a big game last week, only 3 catches, but 2 of those went for touchdowns. When you have different quarterbacks in there, they have chemistry with different guys, and it's clear that Burrell early on has some chemistry with Watson, but he also likes Dylan Root, so keep your eye on number 10 as well.
Fake the screen. Burrell has to heave it to the sideline. Malik Collins applying the pressure.
Nebraska just seems to be a step ahead of this Fresno State offense. This is going to bring up a 4th down situation again, and they punted the last one, and looks like they're going to bring the punting unit on and just regular punt and maybe try and back Nebraska up and see if this defense can finally get something going. But on a turnover situation, your offense has to be able to produce more than it did there, Carter.
3 and out following the safety. Low snap. Swanson roll out. A terrible punt off the side of the foot from Garrett Swanson. Nebraska has a 14-2 lead and a huge field possession advantage.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this eye vision from a week ago, and Amir Abdullah, with the game tied late in the 4th quarter, needed to be able to make a play, catches a simple option route, and then does what he does best, which is make plays, bouncing off of blocks, uses his tremendous vision, burst, his ability to be able to run in the open field, Carter. But it was more about heart, determination, and leadership. But then early on in this game, a simple stretch play, patient to the hole, and then uses that burst and acceleration and open field speed again to put Nebraska up by 6 more. Abdullah is an absolute beast running the football.
58 yards on the touchdown a week ago, 57 on that run. He is now just 8 away from cracking the top 5 Nebraska all-time list. He is #1 nationally among active players in career all-purpose yards. Tommy Armstrong Jr. and the Nebraska offense. Abdullah again to near the 45. A chance for us to check in with Brent Stover in New York.
Carter, BC looking for a top 10 upset, but USC not going away. Cody Kessler for Nelson Aguilar, under 4 to play. It's 30-24 BC, guys.
BC was running all over USC.
Which is impressive considering that Stanford couldn't do anything against them a week ago.
Nebraska, 2 huge touchdown plays to have a 14-2 lead. That's Kenny Bell. And there's a flag down. Looks like we'll have a face mask as Kenny Bell is back out there for the Huskers after missing the final 3 quarters of last Saturday's game with a groin injury.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 28, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And that's on Charles Washington. Was a safety. They started him tonight at corner. Overruns a little bit. Didn't track that inside hip, and just with that right hand got a hold of that face mask. Great call by the officials to be on top of that. Penalties, Carter, is something typically Fresno does a really good job of, but that one hurt him.
Sweep. This is Newby. Terrell Newby takes a pop and picks up about 7 yards on the sweep.
Well, Terrell Newby is from Los Angeles, so I'm sure he's happy to be back in California. We just saw his tremendous speed there. And that's really the thing, I think, on both sides of the football, Carter, that I notice about this Nebraska club is how much faster they seem in these last couple of years, particularly this year, and on the defensive side of the ball.
Fake the sweep again. Armstrong to the air. Incomplete. Looking for the tight end, Sethan Carter.
Well, you can credit Tyler Davison, that nose tackle, for being able to beat his man and apply a little bit of pressure on Tommy Armstrong, which resulted in the overthrow.
Bringing up 3rd and 3 for the Huskers. Incomplete. Knocked away by Deron Smith. Intended for Kenny Bell. Field goal unit comes out for the Huskers.
Deron Smith is just a tremendous playmaker. But Tommy Armstrong threw that ball behind Kenny Bell on his hip. He's been getting some pressure up front. to Fresno State's credit, they've been able to apply a little bit of pressure, and because of it, on back-to-back plays, Nebraska's going to attempt a field goal.
Drew Brown from 43 yards had a 44-yarder in the opener. This 43-yarder is no good. And the Fresno State defense finally comes up with an answer for the Nebraska offense. 14-2 Huskers in the Valley. But Drew Brown's missed 43-yarder is the football back to the Bulldogs.
Welcome back inside Bulldog Stadium. Major pressure from Nebraska defensively. Could it be the impactful return of defensive end Randy Gregory? He didn't play last week against McNeese State. Re-aggravated a left knee injury. Did not play. He is back today. I spoke with Nebraska athletic trainer. He told me they anticipated no limitations from him as we take a look at our icy hot injury report. Gregory, 10.5 sacks last year, led the Big Ten, and of course Carter, a 2014 preseason All-American.
From Fishers, Indiana. Aaron, how big of a boost for the Nebraska defense is it to have Gregory back?
Well, in Coach E's or football E's, they call Randy Gregory an eraser. He's somebody that can make up for mistakes. He's somebody that offenses have to account for anytime he's on the field. Without question, this young man makes this Nebraska Cornhusker defense extremely better, particularly on passing downs.
Sometimes I wish the SAP button would be available for Coach E's. Loss on first down. We check with Brent.
Carter, you talked about the running game of BC tonight. Tyler Murphy, the quarterback, takes this one 66 yards for the touchdown. He's got 191 on the ground. The team is over 400, averaging 8.3 per carry. And BC about to score an upset. It's 37-24.
Well, Chestnut Hill looks like a fun place to be tonight, assuming you're not a USC fan. Burrell's pass intended for Watson is incomplete. So third down and long again for Fresno State.
And here come the pass rushers for Nebraska, Carter. They brought Malik Collins and Randy Gregory back onto the field. Their front four against that front five of Fresno's offense has been a little bit of a mismatch so far early on in this game. Let's ISO cam number 4 and see what he can do.
Good suggestion. Complete. Aaron Peck short of the first down. Nate Gary and Josh Banderas combine on the tackle.
Carter, I was really impressed with Nate Gary. Leads the team in tackles. Only a sophomore, but man, talk about a rangy, fast, aggressive safety. He's just somebody that continually showed up on film time after time after time. Tremendous speed to be able to break on that ball and force the punt here.
13 tackles a week ago for the sophomore from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Another 3 and out for Fresno State. Swanson will kick it to Pearsonell. Fair catch inside the 25 for Pearsonell. Take a look at tonight's series history brought to you by Bud Light. What will happen next? Series history consists of one game, 2011 in Lincoln. Nebraska won that game 42-29. Amir Abdullah, then a freshman, a 100-plus yard kickoff return in that game for Nebraska on Fresno State, when the Bulldogs gave the Huskers a test in Lincoln.
Seems all he does is be able to make plays, but you saw a couple jump cuts there. He's a slashing type runner with excellent top end speed.
Abdullah gets a break on first down. It's Amani Cross, the junior from Georgia, in the backfield with Armstrong.
Fresno showing edge pressure off the slot.
Armstrong, another throw behind the intended receiver. So that's 2 straight misses for Armstrong Jr.
Yeah,
intended for Alonzo Moore.
And when you watch Tommy Armstrong play, he's got a rifle. He's very aptly named because his arm is strong, but the accuracy, Carter, at times has been problematic for him.
Armstrong.
See what I did there?
Uh-huh. Option. Cross throws the block. Armstrong gets maybe a couple. Third down for the Huskers.
Nice shoestring tackle that time by Curtis Riley. Fresno State's put themselves in position. They have Nebraska behind the chains, so to speak. 3rd and long is where they want them. Let's see if they dial up some pressure and get themselves off the field again.
Abdullah in there for 3rd and 7. Armstrong, incomplete. 3 and out for Nebraska. Brandon Hughes applies the pressure on Tommy Armstrong.
Fresno State doing a nice job of running some blitzes and some twists up front where the defensive line crisscross positions. But credit Brandon Hughes coming from that slot position, being able to put some pressure on Tommy Armstrong, which is clearly affecting the accuracy of his throws.
4 straight incompletions now for Tommy Armstrong Jr. First 3 and out for the Huskers. Sam Foltz, who had a terrific game a week ago. Punts, is it live? It's recovered by Fresno State. If it was touched by a Bulldog, LaKendrick Williams gets back on top of it.
Fresno State might have got away with one here. As a football player, you have to know where this football is.
And the kicking team.
LaKendrick Williams has to say Peter or somehow communicate to his flyers coming down the field that that ball is bouncing and to get out of the way.
Weather report brought to you by Allegra, and if you see the fans fanning themselves throughout this one, here's why. 98 degrees right now in Fresno, California. It is 8:21 p.m. after a high of 104 today in the San Joaquin Valley. It is still in the upper 90s. Burrell handing off to Josh Quezada, flag down. That's one of the challenges for Nebraska. Obviously, they're up 14-2, so they appear to be handling it. But late start, West Coast, temps in the high 90s.
Yeah, and you remember a couple years ago.
Personal foul. Hands to the face. Defense. Number 98. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Cardi, you bring up a great point, because 2 years ago they played UCLA at night and lost that game. Tons of offense. Defense seemed to be optional, and those black shirts were kind of dingy gray that night. But they did work on it this week and made some adjustments to their schedule, and they started pretty quickly, so it seems to have worked.
Penalty was on Valentine. Quezada takes the first down handoff. Nothing there.
Just hasn't been a whole lot of room to run inside for Fresno State. They're an inside zone, outside zone, power, counter, OT type team. But Nebraska's defensive line, to their credit, are doing a pretty good job of closing up those running lanes inside.
Burrell to the air, complete to Harper, short of the first down.
And the problem, Carter, is when you can't get that run game going, it doesn't make the defense respect your play action. And that means that it gets a lot harder to be able to find those clear throwing lanes to your receivers.
On 3rd and 4, Harper again on the screen behind his blockers for a Bulldog first down. Kalu finally makes a stop.
Carter, they only had one first down coming into tonight's game, and that was against USC. This is a much better start, and the best start they've had so far this year in the first quarter for the Bulldogs.
And Nebraska uses a timeout.
Nebraska, their second 30-second timeout.
Second used timeout by Nebraska. Bo Pelini right in the ear of Joshua Kalu gives us a chance to check in with Brent.
All right, Carter, UCLA and Texas. Brett Hundley injured early in the game, so Jerry Neuheisel, Rick's son to Jordan Payton, UCLA back in front of Texas, 20-17. And by the way, USC has just scored, so they trail 37-31 to BC.
Anxious moments in Southern California for both USC and UCLA fans. So that means in that Bruins Longhorn game, you have both backups carrying the way for Texas and UCLA. Burrell on first down, complete. That's Harper again inside the 20. 3 straight to Josh Harper.
One of the things you love about Josh Harper's games are the routes that he runs. He's got these great, big, strong hands. If that ball's in the area, his catch radius, meaning where he can catch that ball, is tremendous.
Burrell to the end zone. Knocked away from Aaron Peck. Daniel Davey, the junior corner, knocks it away. Tonight's Red Zone brought to you by Verizon. 5 trips to the red zone, 5 touchdowns for Fresno State. The problem has been they just haven't gotten into the red zone very often in the first 2+ games. Burrell on 2nd and 10 to Quezada. Malik Collins makes the stop.
This defensive line for Nebraska, Carter, is young. Malik Collins, a sophomore, along with Vincent Valentine and Greg McMullen. But they are going to be good as they start to mature and start to learn the nuances of defensive line coach Rick Kaczynski and what it is he wants to do. They could be awesome in the next year or so. And so far tonight, they're playing pretty well inside against the run as well.
On 3rd and 6, Burrell incomplete off the hands of Pack. Corey Cooper there in coverage.
Just can't afford to have these missed opportunities. We talked about that arm strength, perfectly thrown ball. You have to wonder if Aaron Peck felt the coverage by Cooper and got a little alligator armed.
So Cody Croning is on for his first field goal attempt for Fresno State. Colin McGuire left school after the USC game. So Croning for 30 yards, a freshman from San Jose. It is no good. Cody Croning's first field goal attempt didn't go well.
Yeah, the field goal kicker position is one that they've struggled with. You see Tim DeRuta there trying to console him. Just a bit outside.
You got to love that from Tim DeRuta, though. The head coach, I mean, this is a walk-on freshman kicker. Didn't expect to be in a football game against Nebraska in his 3rd game. So DeRuta over there to try and offer some encouragement after an embarrassing attempt. Tommy Armstrong Jr. in the Nebraska offense. 3 and out last time they had it. Back to Abdullah, slips out of the tackle. Amir Abdullah hit in the backfield by Curtis Riley and manages to get 5 anyway.
That time Fresno State was bringing a cowboy or a corner blitz from the boundary or the short side of the field with Curtis Riley, and Riley clearly missed him in the backfield, and instead of tackling him for a loss, it brings up a 2nd and 5 for the Cornhuskers. Another missed opportunity by Fresno State.
Bell goes in motion. Armstrong pulls it. Dropped after a gain of 3 more to make it 3rd down and short.
That play was made by Kyrie Wilson. He leads this team in tackles so far this year with 21. Great discipline that time for him to trust his eyes and technique and stay at home. It's a 3rd and short, Carter. Fresno State's defense has buckled down in the middle of this quarter. They need to make a play here.
Straight ahead. Nebraska 1st down across the 31. Mickelson makes the stop on Abdullah, but Nebraska moves the chains.
Nebraska's a downhill running football team, Carter. That was just a simple power. That time they pulled the backside guard, Jake Cotton, a captain for this team, and he wallops Kyrie Wilson, the leading tackler, who had just made a great play the play before, got run over on that last one for the 1st down.
Abdullah. Not much on 1st down. Ederaine, the outside linebacker, on the stop.
And that time Nebraska tried to run the exact same play. They run a power, but Tyler Davison does a great job of stepping outside of the double team, coming around in the backside pursuit, was able to bring the ball carrier to the ground.
That's the end of the first quarter. Timeout on the field.
Nebraska with 2 big play touchdowns to take a 14-2 lead at the end of the first quarter here in Fresno. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Tonight's Chick-fil-A fan cam, and it is almost all red around here. The Bulldogs from Fresno State hosting the sizable contingent of Nebraska fans, both making the trip from Nebraska. And all the California Cornhusker fans, I think they all made the trip up here to the San Joaquin Valley. Headed out to Kings Canyon earlier today, and there were a lot of Nebraska fans out there as well. 13 straight home wins for Fresno State. That's the second longest streak in major college football. Nebraska hoping to put an end to that tonight. Carter Blackburn, Aaron Taylor, Jamie Erdahl from Bulldog Stadium. First play of the second quarter. Armstrong Jr. from the gun with the Monty Cross. Armstrong keeps it. Third down coming. We check with Brent.
Guys, Florida, Kentucky, 4th and 7, first overtime. Jeff Driscoll throws a touchdown pass. They are in the second OT now. Gators got a field goal. It's Kentucky ball. Also, BC knocks off USC. UCLA beats Texas. Penn State, a late rally to take down Rutgers.
And here in Fresno, 14-2 Nebraska, but things have slowed for the Huskers since an explosive start. 3rd and 6. Armstrong to the air. Deep ball caught. Kenny Bell. Another huge play for the Cornhuskers as Bell hauls it in.
Just when you thought Tommy Armstrong struggled throwing the football, even with pressure right in his face, he throws a beautiful deep ball right in stride to Kenny Bell, who just runs a simple go route on the outside. The safety was slow getting over, and it's first down Cornhuskers.
37 yards on the completion. Third offensive play that's gone for 35 or more for Nebraska. Abdullah bouncing off Deron Smith. Tackled as he reaches the edge by Curtis Riley.
There's a very good chance, Carter, we're going to see Deron Smith and Amir Abdullah play against each other on some days at some point. That was a very good safety that he just made miss in the hole, and that's what makes number 8 Abdullah so special.
Abdullah straight ahead to the 21-yard line. Amir Abdullah, special back, says he needs a break. No wonder.
Let's go back a couple plays and watch him bounce off Deron Smith right there in the hole. That balance, that leg strength. He is not somebody that you can arm tackle. And that was a pretty good safety. One of the safeties I think that could be the most complete player in the country at that position that number 8 just made miss.
Saw him tap the helmet asking for a sub, and the answer from the sideline was, we need you out there, number 8, for 3rd and 3. Abdullah lined up in the backfield, takes an awkward handoff and is dropped short. Kyrie Wilson, weak side linebacker, to make it 4th down.
There was some miscommunication there, Carter, with the way that things have been going.
There's a flag down.
Illegal shift on the offense. Penalties decline. 4th down.
See Coach Pelini, they're not being very happy about what's going on. He's going to bring his kicking unit on to take the points. I think this is important for Nebraska because they've been kind of letting Fresno State stick around a little bit. I think when you're on the road in a hostile environment, remember Fresno State is 13-0 under Tim DeRuyter here in this house. It's a raucous environment. When you're on the road, don't take chances, take points.
38-yarder coming from Drew Brown, missed from 45 earlier. The 38-yard kick from Drew Brown is easily good The Huskers put 3 more up there, a 17-2 lead for Nebraska at Fresno State. Nebraska has 3 scores, 2 of them touchdowns, and then the field goal from Brown, and all 3 of those have come off of huge plays, beginning with the 70-yarder to Tommy Armstrong Jr. to Jordan Westerkamp, and then it was Amir Abdullah doing it again.
And big plays are something that has plagued this Fresno State team all season long, even going back into last year. And then Kenny Bell just finding a way on a go route to be able to get behind the defense. To Fresno State's credit, though, they've been locking down inside at times, but it's been, and then at some point they break. They've got to be able to shore that up. But so far, Nebraska finding ways to be able to exploit what could be an overmatched Fresno State Bulldog defense.
2 points on the board for Fresno State. That was a safety on a special teams blunder by Nebraska. Mauro Bondi's kick taken out of the end zone by Dylan Ruth to the 21. Tomorrow, the NFL on CBS brings you doubleheader action. First, the Patriots against the Vikings. Then later on, AFC West showdown, Chiefs against the Broncos. All starts with the NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines at noon Eastern. Check local listings for games in your area, including Derek Carr against the Houston Texans. Devontae Adams now a Green Bay Packer. You know, our friend Andrew Catalon with Steve Berline. Steve Tasker has Derek Carr and the Raiders against David Carr's former team, the Houston Texans.
Well, he's gone now, so now it's Brian Burrell's chance to be able to take this offense over and get something going.
Not on that play. Waller dropped for a loss behind the line. I mean, stuffed by Kevin Williams leading the way. Williams was a question mark tonight, battling knee injuries, but he gets a tackle for a loss there.
Carter, that play never had a chance. It was a zone read. It couldn't be a pull or a give. There was nowhere to go with that football.
Hurry up. Meisenheimer on the catch. Corey Cooper leads a gang of Nebraska tacklers, and it's already 3rd down for Fresno State.
I like the way that John Papuchis' defense for Nebraska flies to the football. There's a lot of white helmets and white jerseys running around. 3rd and long situation. They've been doing a good job of getting pressure with their front 4. They wanted to be able to blitz tonight, but so far in this ball game they haven't had to because their D linemen are getting after it.
Burrell caught. Nice grab downfield by Greg Watson, the 5th-year senior, to convert on 3rd and long.
Great protection that time, and when you give a quarterback time, he's going to find the open receiver. Just a nice job running a nice corner route, finding the hole in that zone defense.
22-yard pickup, screen to Harper on 1st down.
Let's go back a couple plays ago. There he is there. He's going to hit here. Just a simple crossing route with time. Look at the protection of the offensive line. Nebraska only brings 4, but Burrell steps into his throw, puts the ball on the money, and moves the chains.
4 receivers stack. Swinging out to Waller on the screen. Blown up by the Huskers' Josh Banderas, the sophomore middle linebacker from Lincoln's Southwest High School.
Again, team speed, I think, is the difference for this Nebraska team, which is important, Carter. Let's be honest, the Big Ten is wide open this year. It's ripe for anybody's take, and Nebraska has not won a conference championship since 1999. This could be the year.
9+ wins all 6 seasons under Bo Pelini, but no conference titles. Last 2 head coaches for the Huskers haven't won a conference title. Burrell to Harper, nothing doing there. Santos finishes it off to force 4th down.
That was a shallow cross, almost a tunnel or bubble screen concept, but Fresno State, anytime they get some momentum, they seem to find a way to come up short, and to Nebraska's credit, they seem to be 1 step ahead of this offense.
Late addition, McClendon onto the field for Fresno State. It'll be Swanson punting it away. Last punt was 9 yards. This one better than that. Pearsonell finds a seam across the 35. DeMornay Pearsonell will sprint into the end zone for a Nebraska touchdown. The freshman, DeMornay Pearsonell, with an 85-yard punt return for a touchdown and another explosive scoring play for Nebraska.
California's having one of its worst droughts on record, but when it rains, it sure does pour here in Fresno.
Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Taylor.
Try the lasagna.
Drew Brown's PAT after the 85-yard touchdown return for the true freshman from Alexandria, Virginia. DeMornay Pearsonell, Huskers rolling in the valley. DeMornay Pearsonell, who had a tremendous prep career in Alexandria, Virginia. This is exactly what Nebraska thought that he would be capable of as a true freshman. Why he's back there returning punts. Officially 86 yards.
Carter, before this play started, Jaron McClendon ran out onto the field late. Freeze it. He's right here. He's got to be the force player. He's trying to force everything back inside so his pursuit can follow and make the tackle. But because he doesn't maintain outside leverage, it allows DeMornay Pearsonell to be able to outrun the defense and use his speed. You've got to be able to force that play back into your pursuit. And because McClendon didn't, it gave up the touchdown.
Call it 86 yards officially. That'll go for a touchback. Fresno State has it at the 25. Make sure to check out Warner Brothers Pictures' This Is Where I Leave You in theaters September 19. Carter Blackburn, Aaron Taylor, Jamie Erdahl from Bulldog Stadium, where Fresno State has not lost in the head coaching tenure of Tim DeRuyter. They've won their last 13 at home, but this is a different Fresno State team than the one a year ago who won the Mountain West Conference title, the first outright conference title for Fresno State since 1989. And keep this in mind for Fresno State. Not only is Derek Carr now an Oakland Raider, Brian Burrell quarterbacking tonight. Brandon Cannett, the Duke graduate transfer, unavailable for the Bulldogs tonight. He was more effective leading the Fresno State offense, especially last week.
Spot on, Carter. This is what really, I think, has hurt this offense tonight, is not having the threat of the run game at the quarterback position, because when Cannett came in last week in the second quarter, the offense started to move right away, and first it started with Cannett's legs.
They still have Josh Harper, who makes a nifty grab and shakes his way to the 50.
And you mentioned Derek Carr being gone, but how about Isaiah Burst and Devontae Adams? It's a good thing they still have Josh Harper, who a year ago had almost 80 catches. He's a big playmaker. They have to find a way to get the ball into his hands.
Swinger to the outside for Aaron Peck. Tackled immediately by Daniel Davey.
Great job by Davey coming up, who seems to be banged up a little bit on that play. But just a tremendous job of fighting through the pressure, recognizing it right away, and limiting the screen on the outside.
Davey being tended to by the Nebraska training staff.
Just beats the block of Martez Waller. And that's what you have to do, is plant and drive and get upfield. Seemed to be fine when he got up, but they're tending to what looks like maybe his left leg.
Mentioned Brandon Cannett. He's wearing the baseball cap tonight. Next to offensive coordinator Dave Schramm. He's the graduate transfer from Duke, who already earned his economics degree. Rushed for 31 touchdowns during his time at Duke. And Aaron, you pointed out And even though they didn't do much of anything at Utah last weekend, they moved the football better when Brandon Kennett was in there at quarterback.
Yeah, he's a big, tall drink of water. 6'2", 213 pounds. He's a vertical upright runner, which can be problematic at times. That's probably why he got beat up a little bit. But you're right. His legs forces defense to be able to defend you differently, which opened up other parts of their offense.
And by the way, if you're wondering what the V is for around Fresno State, that's V representing the Valley, the San Joaquin Valley.
Very proud and hard-working people that love their Bulldog football.
Brian Burrell has 8 straight completions, 4 of those to Josh Harper, who already has 7 catches in this game. Flag down for the Bulldogs.
False start. Offense, number 54. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
That's Justin Northern, the junior from Lakewood, California, not holding his water, as we say. That's another coachese term. At home, there's no excuse for not being able to know the snap count, but I'd be pretty nervous too if I was going against this Husker defensive line.
Burrell incomplete off the hands of Aaron Peck. We check in again with Brent Stover.
At the Swamp, third overtime, Matt Jones punches it in after a Kentucky missed field goal. Gators get the touchdown. They survive the Wildcats tonight, gentlemen.
Well, does that mean that the Gators have the leg up now in the SEC East of South Carolina's victory over Georgia?
Man, who knows what's going to happen there.
8 minutes. 8-0-0. It started on my signal.
Carter, my prediction at the beginning of the year is that both the East and the West were going to be wide open. I think the winner of the SEC will at least be a 1-loss team, if not 2 this year.
So that means hope for the Georgia Bulldogs after that very close loss. South Carolina. Burrell, incomplete. Well, and speaking of wide open, I mean, I guess if you were going to say the Big Ten, it's obviously been a horribly disappointing start for Big Ten in 2014. Still 3 ranked teams, but definitely wide open in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, it's anybody's conference for the taking, which should be good news for Husker fans in the West. I mean, they still have to be able to play Wisconsin, and there's some good teams on that side of the ball. But this young team, if they can mature and kind of hit their stride, they've got a tough schedule. They've got some tough games on the road. But again, this conference is as wide open as it's ever been, and maybe Pelini's best chance that he's had since he's been there to win it.
Pearsonell again. After an 86-yard return the last time, the freshman across midfield. There's a flag down. Swanson and Pearsonell get tangled up. The freshman from Alexandria, Virginia is having a night in the punt return game. This one goes for 50.
Personal foul. Face mask. And the kicking team, number 49. 15-yard penalty. First down.
That's the punter, Swanson.
Pearsonell is running where they're not. Fresno State getting out of their lanes. You see the very end, Swanson. Pearsonell gives him a stiff arm. Swanson tries to repay the favor, except you're not allowed to do that on the defensive side of the ball.
That's 136 punt return yards on the last 2 for Nebraska. Right to the air, Armstrong to Kenny Bell.
And this is what the play action does for you. We saw that, that Nebraska was running power football, pulling the backside guard. They fake it, which sucks up the linebackers, which opens up the space inside for Kenny Bell to catch the skinny post.
Motion.
False start. Offense, number 35. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
That's the fullback, Andy Janovich. That was I formation there. That was going to be some old school Nebraska football. Some ISO, some power, some counter OT.
Bob Devaney stuff. On 1st and 15, here's Abdullah. Shoved out around the 15. By the way, Nebraska still calls Amir Abdullah. Rather than a running back, they call him I-back. So the tradition continues around Cornhusker football. Amir Abdullah, a chance to be the first Husker with 3 1,000-yard rushing seasons, and he is on track to get his degree in December. He will be the 9th of 9 siblings to earn his college degree. Senior from Homewood, Alabama, a Heisman Trophy candidate in 2014. Timeout, Fresno State.
Timeout, Fresno State, their first. 30-second timeout.
Oh, by the way, did we mention that Amir Abdullah is a Heisman Trophy candidate, which means that, yes, the Nebraska Sports Information Office has launched an Amir Abdullah for Heisman campaign. And they've been sending out to members of the media, and we're walking away with some AA batteries because they talk about Amir Abdullah powering the Nebraska offense as he's done the past 4 years. So AA batteries, 8 of them for number 8.
I mean, it's been so impressive what he's been able to do with his tenure there. And I love this campaign, the AA of his name and the initials and the AA batteries and the whole kind of metaphor of him being able to power this offense. I mean, it would be nice for him to be able to see his face up along the likes of a Johnny Rodgers or an Eric Crouch or a Mike Rozier. What he's done and what he has a chance to do before he leaves Lincoln, Carter, is pretty dang impressive.
Eric Crouch now with CBS Sports. This is 2nd and 14. Armstrong. Pass delivered, and it's incomplete. Boy, nearly a terrific grab by Alonzo Moore as he took a pop from Deron Smith. But it's incomplete, and Alonzo Moore is still down on the turf.
He's such a powerful safety, breaks on the ball and plays extremely physical in that position. Had 87 tackles a year ago, 7 interceptions. Just drives Moore's face down into the ground. He's unable to be able to come up with the catch. Remember, Alonzo Moore is playing for Jamal Turner, who's out with that Achilles injury. Wide receiver depth is not something they've had a whole lot of because of those injuries. Kenny Bell coming back off that groin.
Sam Birch is out again tonight with a head injury.
Talking with the coaches, they really liked Alonzo Moore. They love his talent and his upside, but sometimes they felt like he kind of plays a little bit tentative, Carter, like he just needs to be able to cut it loose. And I can remember as a young player that was playing early on in my career at Notre Dame, confidence is a huge factor, and at some point the light's going to go off for Alonzo Moore, and his team will benefit as a result.
Jumping back just a moment, we are aware that Johnny Rodgers was a great receiver for Nebraska. 3rd and 14, Armstrong. Complete to the outside to Kenny Bell. Shoved out inside the 10. That's Kenny Bell, who's now 3rd in the Nebraska record book for catches and receiving yards. A senior from Boulder, Colorado.
I mean, he's a 4-year starter and could be the first wide receiver ever to lead Nebraska in receptions for all 4 years. He needs to work on that hair a little bit, maybe.
That's difficult in the Fresno heat with a helmet on as well.
Laying a little flat from a man.
Drew Brown from 22. Boots it through. Now, speaking of Nebraska greats, Jamie Erdahl will visit with one here in Fresno when we come back.
Welcome back inside Bulldog Stadium. Do not let the red on this man's jersey confuse you. The father of Josh Harper, senior wide receiver of Fresno State, Willie Harper, is with us. But you're wearing the red tonight because of the Bulldogs, but you're also a Nebraska alum. What is it like for you tonight with that emotional push-pull of watching your son, but watching Nebraska?
Well, you know, it's not that easy. Knowing how I feel about the Bulldog red and understanding how I feel about the Go Big Red. So, you know, a lot of mixed emotions out here tonight, especially how good the Big Red is playing. So, but we'll see what happens the second half.
Did you say anything special to Josh before the game about this matchup?
Well, you know, Joshua, nothing rattles Joshua. He has blood running in his veins. I mean, cold water for blood. And he's, you know, he does everything that's necessary to get himself ready. He has a high skill, and so he knows how to exploit that skill. And we just want to see tonight if that can take place against the Big Red.
Now, you had some pretty special words for your time playing for Nebraska from 1969 and 1972. Can you explain to us what that experience like was playing for the GBR?
Oh, well, I mean, you know, it was exciting. Some great memories to go back, and especially coming from where I come from, never knowing that I would have that kind of opportunity to succeed with the kind of success that we had there from 69 to 72. Back-to-back national championships. Seemed like it was just yesterday, you know, playing in the Orange Bowl and LSU, Alabama, Notre Dame coming out victorious. Some great memories of those years, kind of being the out of the blocks for the Big Red dynasty over the 40 years. So some great memories.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Harper. You were just saying to me you saw the upset, BC beating USC, and you said only magic can happen in the second half of Fresno State.
All right, we still have a second half to go, and I still believe in miracles. And Boston College upset USC tonight, so we still have a long ways to go in this game, and we're just going to see what the outcome is going to be.
All right, thank you, Carter.
Quezada dropped there on second down. That's Willie Harper, two-time All-American defensive end. Now, he also won a Super Bowl ring with the 49ers. When we talked to Josh yesterday, he said there was a lot of 49ers gear around the house. Yes, there was Nebraska, but there was also a lot of 49ers gear around the house there in the East Bay.
I mean, what a great run.
There is Harper. First down.
I grew up in the Bay Area, Carter, and man, the team that they had back then when we were growing up with Bill Walsh and Ronnie Lott, Dwayne Board, who they called Pee-wees, now the defensive line coach for the Seahawks, Keena Turner. I mean, they had some ballers on their team. Pretty good DNA for old Mr. Harper.
Burrell almost picked off. Miscommunication there between a couple receivers. Josh Mitchell almost picked him off.
Miscommunication is right, because there was an open Bulldog receiver that had come free, that if he had just put a little bit of air on him and thrown it, it might have been a completion. Instead, it almost turned into a turnover, and here it brings up a 2nd and long.
Play fake. Burrell down the middle, caught. Wide open Dylan Root. To the 31, Corey Cooper, the safety, makes the stop. 29-yard pickup.
Well, Nebraska intended on coming into tonight and bringing some pressure. But Burrell is proving that if you give him some time, he's going to be able to find the open receiver. The ball's a little bit behind Root on his hip, but Root's able to turn around and come down with the catch.
Almost picked again. This time it was Kalu.
It's one of the things I notice with Burrell is sometimes he'll lock onto his receivers and not necessarily go through all of his reads and progressions. Young quarterbacks sometimes predetermine where they want to throw the football. Nebraska in tight coverage is starting to break on some of these balls and has gotten their hands on them. Fresno State needs to be careful here.
Swing it to the outside. That's Scott. And near the 21. Jonathan Rose on the stop there with Cooper. Third down and 1. Quezada. Doesn't look like he has it. Josh Banderas on the stop.
Just hasn't been a whole lot of room to run. Fresno State not maintaining their blocks at the line of scrimmage, Carter, but in this situation you have to go for it. You don't even think about it. They wanted to run hurry up. They should have had a 4th down play called in case they didn't got it.
Quezada has the first down across the 20-yard line. Josh Quezada moves the chains into the red zone for Fresno State.
And remember, Fresno State's really good here in the red zone. This is where they need to hit the gas pedal and try and get themselves back into this ball game.
Burrell pulls it. Brian Burrell dragged down inside the 5 by Nate Gary. First and goal, Fresno State.
Not pretty, but effective. Just a simple zone read. The end on the man on the line of scrimmage crashes inside and he pulls it.
Burrell to the end zone for Harper, incomplete. Josh Mitchell in coverage.
Josh Harper at that time having nice inside leverage and coverage, bringing pressure on the outside in his face. He's got to maybe throw a little bit of air up underneath that football. But Mitchell, number 5, in perfect position. Harper comes down with it, but out of bounds.
There's an official timeout. Greg McMullen, sophomore defensive end, on the turf for Nebraska.
You have to wonder if it's the heat, Carter. Been really hot here. Nebraska's practiced in heat in early camp. But there's just no real way to be able to prepare for heat like this. You wonder if this is something that hopefully will help Fresno State maybe later on in the game. But McMullen is a big-time playmaker for him. Had sacks in back-to-back weeks. Leads the team in tackles for loss. He's somebody at that defensive end position that is proving to be a factor early on in this season.
Temperature at kickoff was 98 degrees. We're still in the 90s as we pass 9 o'clock West Coast time here in Fresno, California. Fresno State's moving the football here in the second quarter, but the offense is yet to put up points.
This is 4-down territory for the Bulldogs. We've seen that they struggle kicking field goals. I think a field goal isn't what you need in this situation to begin with. They're behind in this game. They've got to find a way to get somebody open in the back of that end zone.
Quezada drilled as soon as he grabs it on the outside. Byerson Cockrell blows up Quezada on first and goal.
See if we can take a listen to this, Carter. That's the way you want to come up from that safety position. Byerson Cockrell's their nickel back, and he brought the wood.
Burrell scrambling, heaving, incomplete. Malik Collins pressures, 4th down coming.
Looks like they're going to send the field goal unit back onto the field, Carter. I don't know if I agree with this. In this situation, 5 total points doesn't do you any good. Who knows? Maybe they run a fake and try and get creative and get a touchdown out of this thing. But if it were me, I would have went for it.
Croning missed a 30-yarder badly. This is 27 for the freshman walk-on kicker. That one is good. A line drive 27-yarder from Croning, and a smile for Tim DeRuyter because his kicker has the first points for the Fresno State offense, but it's still Huskers in control. (27-5), Nebraska on Fresno State. A week after the scare at home against Magny State, taking care of business here in Fresno. We're 2:08 away from halftime. We'll send you back for the Verizon halftime report. Brent Stover, Houston Nutt, and Christian Fourier back in New York with what's turning out to be a pretty wacky third week of the college football season. East Carolina beating Virginia Tech after the Hokies' big win over Ohio State. South Carolina bounces back from the horrible loss against A&M to barely beat Georgia. And then BC over USC.
Well, Virginia Tech's loss was my upset pick on Inside College Football. Just so hard to respond, Carter, after a big emotional win over Ohio State the week before. And this weekend's slate of games only pitted two ranked opponents against one another, and that was South Carolina and Georgia, and that one certainly didn't disappoint. But it's on weekends like this that crazy stuff happens, like USC going on the road and getting run all over by the BC Eagles.
Newbie on the return across the 30-yard line. Meanwhile, the Big Ten suffers another rough week. I mean, within the conference, Penn State's win over Rutgers. To say in the third week of college football that the Big Ten's best win so far is Rutgers over Washington State. That's it.
It's not a good look, Carter. And this makes things really, really interesting because remember, this is the first year of the college football playoff. 4 spots for 5 conferences. Dare I say that the Big Ten could get left out?
Yes, go ahead and say that. Abdullah wrestled down by the 3. I mean, it's early. It's only the third week, but the Big Ten has certainly taken it on the chin. Now, the good news for Nebraska is they're 2-0, and they're in control in week 3 after the scare against McNeese State. While, I mean, in the Big Ten West, you've already have Wisconsin losing the big one in the opener to LSU. Iowa losing at home today to Iowa State. Neither of those are Big Ten games, but the 2 other major contenders in the West both already have a loss. Nebraska 2-0 at this point in the non-conference. Abdullah may be back to the line of scrimmage. Third down coming. Correction, Armstrong back to the line of scrimmage.
And Carter, with a little over a minute here, Nebraska, if they want to try and get some more points out of this thing.
Timeout. Fresno State, their second 30-second timeout.
And I agree with that decision to be able to take the timeout and maybe try and preserve some time left on the clock. Fresno State has another timeout remaining. So it's going to be important that Bo Pelini's team finds a way to be able to get a first down here. And with it being 3rd and long, they may have to put the football in the air, which is taking a chance. But this isn't a gimme play here late in the second quarter.
During the timeout, we check in with Jamie Erdahl.
Carter, defensively right now for Nebraska, they are without both of their starting defensive ends, number 90, Greg McMullen, and number 4, Randy Gregory. No official word as to why they left the field with about 2 minutes to go in the half. But again, keep in mind, Gregory coming back from that left knee injury, did not play last week. So to end the half, the Cornhuskers without their 2 starting defensive ends.
Husker offense out there for 3rd down and 7. Now Donovan Lewis coming on the blitz. Was he drawn off?
A lot of discussion, Carter. It almost looked like it was semi-simultaneous.
False start. Offense. Number 68. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
That's left guard Jake Cotton, the senior captain, who's coached by his father, unfortunately, for plays like that. But last week had a couple critical errors in big moments in that ball game against McNeese State. A legal man downfield, and then a tripping penalty that pulled a touchdown off the board deep down in the red zone.
Second penalty denied against Jake Cotton. Makes it 3rd and 12. Armstrong on the draw. Takes a big pop at the 39-yard line. Deron Smith delivers the blow. And there's another injured Husker.
Timeout. Fresno State, their 3rd and final timeout. 30-second timeout.
That's the right tackle, Zach Sterup. Missed the opener, went over Florida Atlantic with a leg injury.
Ooh, gets rolled up on the back of his legs by Todd Hunt, number 96. Shows up right there, bang.
Nebraska literally limping into the half despite a 27-5 lead.
With as in control of this game as Fresno is, you have to wonder if that's why they pulled some of their defensive players like Randy Gregory and Greg McMullen. This game, by any stretch of the imagination, certainly isn't over, but you don't want to have to take any unnecessary risks and lose players in a ball game that you look to be pretty in control of here late in the second quarter.
Sam Foltz, a sophomore, who was the Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week, averaged 51 yards a punt a week ago. Williams fields that one at the 11. Nebraska defense has been solid.
They've been doing a tremendous job of putting pressure on the quarterback and making Burrell feel the heat and the pressure. They've been stuffing the run. They've been playing aggressive out on the outside and attacking the perimeter with their safeties and their cornerbacks and virtually leaving no room to run after the catch. This is a very well coached, aggressive and fast Nebraska defense that we've seen here through these first two quarters.
"50 seconds before the half. Burrell, incomplete, intended for Josh Harper.
Tough situation the Fresno's in here, Carter, being backed up with no timeouts. They're going to need some big plays over the top. Remember, the clock will stop after a first down, but that's going to be the only way. That and a completed pass that's run out of bounds.
Quezada across the 15. Nebraska still has one timeout. Not using it here.
With that decision there, it's clear that Fresno just wants to let this clock run out, go in at halftime and regroup.
Nebraska doesn't use the timeout to get the football back, so a first half dominated by big plays from Nebraska. 70-yard touchdown for Westerkamp. 57-yard touchdown for Abdullah. 86-yard touchdown for Taborne Pearsonell. A 27-5 lead for Nebraska against Fresno State. One of the big questions about the Cornhuskers, where would the focus be after the tight one against McNeese State a week ago in Lincoln? Well, through the first half here in Fresno, California, the Huskers focused, executing, and explosive. Jamie's with Bo Pelini.
Coach, a first half tempered by explosive plays offensively. How do you feel tempo-wise first half?
Oh, good. You know, I mean, we just got to get into a little bit better rhythm offensively. You know, they're bringing a lot of people. They're bringing from a lot of different angles, and there's some big plays out there. We missed some opportunities, but overall, I like what I've seen in the first half. We're playing well defensively, and obviously special teams has been big for us.
How much of an impact did Randy Gregory's return defensively have on this team?
Well, good. You know, he's a little gassed. I mean, you know, coming out in this heat for his first time back wasn't the best thing, but I think he's starting to feel a little bit better. He was feeling sick during the first half, but just having him out there, it makes a big difference.
All right, Coach, thank you.
Thanks, Jane.
27-5 lead for Nebraska on Fresno State at the half. After the break, we'll send you back to our CBS Sports Network studio. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network. Nebraska football's first trip to the San Joaquin Valley is going well through a half. 27-5, Cornhuskers on the Bulldogs. Carter Blackburn with Aaron Taylor, Jamie Erdahl on the sideline. One of the big questions for Nebraska, where would the focus and execution be this week after the near loss to McNeese State last week? And I think the halftime score answers that question for Nebraska.
They certainly came out strong and came out early and fast. That really says to me they were ready to play in the second half. The tale of the first half was how explosive their offense was. Tommy Armstrong's arm early on, finding Jordan Westerkamp very early on this game, set the tone for the first half, and then it was Amir Abdullah being patient to the hold and using his explosion and burst to be able to take a 56-yard run to the house and get a touchdown. And then it was some of the bonehead mistakes. Carter wasn't a first half without his mistakes. This actually was a safety and gave Fresno State its first 2 points in the first quarter so far this year. And then the rest of that, it was just all Nebraska.
86-yard punt return for a touchdown for DeMornay Pearsonell. Take a look at our halftime stats. Brought to you by CC's Pizza. You know, the numbers aren't really that bad for Fresno State. They ran 53 plays, but only 3 offensive points, plus the 2 from the safety and special teams.
Yeah, it hasn't been a very efficient or effective offense, Carter. They're only averaging 3.7 yards per play. The difference really in this first half has been the explosivity of the Nebraska Cornhusker offense.
We'll see if they can keep up the explosivity here in the second half at Bulldog Stadium, where Fresno State's riding a 13-game home winning streak. Bondi's kickoff bobbled, so a touchback. A chance to check with Jamie Erdahl.
Carter, Fresno State head coach Tim DeRuyter completely agrees with what Aaron's been saying all first half. The Bulldogs started off poorly, but he did feel like they settled in offensively. He wants to keep pushing the tempo, specifically on special teams. He said they do plan on punting away from DeMornay Pearsonell. You just rattled off those numbers for that kick returner. Expect to see Fresno State kick away from that special true freshman.
Well, I would say, Jamie, hopefully you don't have to punt too much to him. Hopefully you can keep some offensive drives going. I think that Fresno State here in the second half, instead of dinking and dunking and trying to make plays out on the perimeter, they've got to take some shots downfield.
Here's Burrell, pressured, gets rid of it. They're going to say his knee was down. Even if his knee wasn't down, it would have been intentional grounding and basically a sack anyway.
And that's Vincent Valentine from that defensive tackle position, just fighting through, keeping alive, and that's what defensive linemen have to do, just a straight bull rush. Burrell should have had that ball gone, but it was the hustle of Valentine that got him the sack.
Loss of 11 on the first play of the second half. Burrell to the air again. Incomplete. There is a flag down. That's Josh Mitchell tied up with Josh Harper.
True to form, Fresno State is taking some shots downfield early, and it's paying off here.
Pass interference, defense, number 5, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Just making contact after those 5 yards, extremely aggressive. Josh Mitchell's been very, very good in his coverage tonight, a captain for this team. Undersized but crafty cornerback. Got caught with his hand in the cookie jar there.
Waller, correction. It's Burrell keeps it. Let's take a look at Brian Burrell, Jr. from Bakersfield pass chart.
He's done a good job of spreading the football around vertically. Hasn't been very accurate on those short passes. That's what's really hurt them. Taking some shots downfield, they need to continue to try and do that and get some chunk plays.
Waller trying to find the edge. Greg McMullen, who left the game at the end of the first half for Nebraska, back in there. You heard Bo Pelini's update with Jamie Erdahl about Randy Gregory. I mean, you're coming back after missing last week, battling injuries, and come out in 90+ degree heat well after sundown. Presents challenges. Pressure on 3rd and 6. Burrell incomplete, and a huge hit. Josh Harper takes a big hit from Randy Gregory.
True to form, he pops back up. That time they brought edge pressure. It's just a fire zone, which means they blitz guys and exchange the second level defenders with the defensive lineman. He drops back in his zone, and on the crossing route shows you that he may have an ability to play linebacker and drop out into space maybe on the next level.
That's why Randy Gregory is one of the favorites to be a top 10 pick in next year's NFL draft if he chooses to come out. Punting away from DeMornay Pearsonell. Let's take a look at tonight's 76 Athlete of the Week. Amir Abdullah, who was on pace to get his degree in December. Third in school history with over 5,400 career all-purpose yards.
Just an extraordinary player, Carter, and one of the knocks on him is his size. He's not the biggest of backs, only 5'9", 195 pounds. But I'm going to hit you with some more footballese here. He runs behind his pads, which means he drops his pads and runs much heavier and much more physically than his 5'9" frame would suggest.
Tommy Armstrong Jr. First pass complete. Kenny Bell trying to slip away from Curtis Riley, who is close to another explosive Husker play.
And this is something that Fresno State hasn't been able to do tonight, is run after the catch. Kenny Bell with the ball in his hands. His burst and explosion are tremendous. He is not somebody you want to see in the open field.
Armstrong pulls it on 1st and 10. First down and more for Tommy Armstrong Jr. with a stiff arm to get to the Fresno State 35.
It's not good when a quarterback is throwing Shannon Edwards, a safety, to the ground. But Tommy Armstrong starting this second half like he started the first half with a great run on the zone read with pressure off that outside edge from the boundary from Fresno State. Great call into that defense.
Gain of 27 for Armstrong. To the air, complete. That's Westerkamp slipping a tackle, knocked out of bounds inside the 20. Shannon Edwards bounces back to make the tackle on Westerkamp.
Yeah, and that was on Deron Smith, the safety that we praise so much. A rare missed tackle from him. He didn't set his feet, overran. You have to track that inside hip when you have the help of the boundary. You can't afford to overrun. You don't have to because the sideline's right there.
Play fake, complete, touchdown Nebraska. Sept and Carter into the end zone. A 20-yard touchdown pass, Armstrong to Carter to get the scoring started in the second half for the Cornhuskers.
Carter, that drive there was characterized by poor tackling and missed tackles by that Fresno State defense by one of its better players.
Drew Brown for the PAT. Nebraska in control. Opening drive touchdown to begin the second half. Tommy Armstrong Jr. to Sept and Carter. 34-5 Nebraska. Our hard-working crew got a very nice trip this morning to Kings Canyon National Park. Gorgeous. Saw the Grand Tree, the third largest tree on Earth there. To roll into Kings Canyon National Park. Beautiful country just outside Fresno, California. Head into the Sierra Nevadas.
Beautiful country, Carter. I was raised here in California. Can you believe I've never been to Yosemite?
I could not believe that when you said it. We're back here in a few weeks. I think we might have to make a road trip ourselves. This is from the 5. Dylan Root across the 25. Let's go back to the TD.
Well, this is going to be Sept and Carter right here. You see Fresno State in a 3-deep zone, so the holes of this defense should be in between them. Deron Smith is late getting over, picking him up, and he can't be able to pick him up, and then he misses the tackle, and it's another very easy touchdown for Nebraska.
As you pointed out, Aaron, a couple costly missed tackles there by Deron Smith. So Brian Burrell, the junior from Bakersfield, California. Quezada. Straight ahead, best run of the night for Josh Quezada, the senior, to the 45.
And this is where Fresno State really needs to hit the gas pedal. You get a big first down, the defense has to chase them down from behind, and they're going to try and go, Carter.
Hurry up for the Bulldogs. Incomplete. Looked like it was batted at the line. Randy Gregory applying pressure there on Burrell.
Randy Gregory gets there in a hurry, and that's one of the things that he does such a good job of. Seems to have gotten some fluids and gotten his wind back. But when number 4 is on the field as a former offensive lineman, there are certain players that you have to recognize on every single down, and number 4 is certainly one of those guys.
He's back at practice on Tuesday for the Huskers. Here comes pressure. Burrell slips away from Kalu and just dumps it to the sideline. Joshua Kalu right in the face of Brian Burrell.
They bring edge pressure here. He comes by and misses Burrell. Burrell somehow gets himself out of this. Just a great swim move over the right offensive tackle, and then somehow squirts out and is able to get rid of that football.
Burrell has to go wire to wire as Fresno State's QB tonight after Brandon Cannett unable to go because of an injured hand and injured ribs. Burrell has 5 straight incompletions, facing 3rd and 10. Pressure again. Burrell sacked back at the 31. Greg McMullen pulls Burrell down.
Carter, Greg McMullen is quickly turning himself into a sack machine. Their defensive line coach, Rick Kaczynski, a former teammate of mine at Notre Dame, told me that he's really excited about this young defensive line for Nebraska, loaded with sophomores and the junior Randy Gregory. They have a chance to be extraordinary this year and into the future.
There's not a senior on the depth chart at defensive line for Nebraska. Pearson L will let this one hit inside the 10. Did Fresno State keep it out of the end zone? Apparently, no, did not. Touchback, so Nebraska will get it at the 20. Greg McMullen and the Nebraska D getting into the act. 34-5 Nebraska on Fresno State. Levante David, Nebraska linebacker, now making plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Just a tremendous athlete, a little bit undersized, but man, the way that he can cover the field from sideline to sideline, just an instant impact player for the Bucs.
Week 3 Thursday night matchup in the NFC South. Here's Amir Abdullah. Gain of 2 for the senior from Homewood, Alabama. A really nice feature that Inside College Football had this week with Amir Abdullah and his family's terrific track record. 9 siblings growing up in Homewood, Alabama, outside of Birmingham, and Amir is on track to be the 9th of those 9 siblings to earn a college degree.
Yeah, they all told him he had to step it up. I mean, think about the career that he had, but a big decision for him to forego leaving early was so that he could be the 9th sibling to earn a college degree. Just a great story and a great family.
Tommy Armstrong Jr. handing off to Abdullah, sprinting across the 25. It'll be 3rd down and short. And here's that quote that you mentioned. Ameer Abdullah, this is the statement when he decided to come back for his senior year. I've come to realize that life is bigger than football, that my chances of long-term success in life will be greatly enhanced by completing my college education.
And he is spot on, Carter. The data suggests that you play longer and have longer careers in the NFL if you have a college degree. But the real reality is all football players are going to be ex-athletes a heck of a lot longer than they'll ever play the game.
Incomplete on 3rd and 2. Throwing on 3rd down and 2 is intended for Sam Cotton. Edwards there with the pressure. Say that again. The data suggests you have a longer NFL career if you have a college degree.
Guys that have their collegiate degree play longer in the NFL than guys that don't. And think about it. I mean, to complete your college degree, you have to be able to be good at time management and be responsible and set goals and achieve those. And I mean, there's some of those transferable skills that guys that choose to stay in school and get their degree and take advantage of those opportunities, it makes sense that they would do a good job on the next level.
And our features team asked Ameer Abdullah about the importance of his family.
The most important thing I've learned from my family, my parents specifically, is probably just making sure you're working hard at all fields, of your life. And that's just something that's really been instilled in me as a child and up to now from my parents, that if you're doing something, make sure you do it the best you can do.
It's a mature young man from a solid family.
You can tell he was raised right.
Incomplete, intended for Waller there on 1st down. So, Aaron, handicap the chances for Ameer Abdullah to be the Heisman Trophy winner in 2014. What do you think?
Well, you have to have big numbers and you have to have big moments and big games. And unfortunately, because of the strength of the Big Ten Conference this year, he may not have all of those opportunities. He's certainly going to be productive and put up those big numbers. He arguably had a Heisman-esque moment last week against McNeese State where he put the team literally on his back.
That's incomplete.
But Carter, history isn't on his side because it's a quarterback game now. It really seems like it's been a quarterback award. Running backs just aren't getting the love that they once got.
Only one running back has won the Heisman Trophy in the past 13 years. That was Mark Ingram at Alabama. Prior to that, it was Ricky Williams and Ron Dane back-to-back when they broke the career rushing records. Only one running back in the last 13 years. 3rd and 10. Burrell hit as he throws, incomplete.
Guess who was there again? Randy Gregory. Came up right up inside in the middle. Unblocked and just smacks Burrell. Look at that explosion, like a jaguar on the hunt.
Randy Gregory, that is now 8 straight incompletions by Brian Burrell. Nebraska really turning up the defensive pressure.
Well, rightfully so, because when they gave Fresno State time, Burrell was able to find open receivers and move the football. They didn't do that early on, but they certainly found a way to do it now.
Pearsonell, fair catch. Huskers in control, 34-5.
Welcome back inside Bulldog Stadium. While it's been a tough night for Fresno State, time now for our Coach's Corner. A look at the home coach, what he may keep inside his office. We're going to bring this to you every week. This week, Tim DeRuyter. I call this a book, really doesn't do it justice. It was given to Coach DeRuyter by Mike Sherman during their time at Texas A&M. And as I said, I sound a little awkward right now, but that's only because this book is, I can't even guess how many pages this is. Some of the things, it's a calendar year of how to run a program. Some of the things is a blueprint for winning, sample weekly schedule of staff meetings and travel itinerary, a self-scout. I mean, thorough doesn't even do this book justice, guys.
Well, Jamie, that book was given to him by Mike Sherman, who certainly was with Tim DeRuyter at Texas A&M. Mike was the tight ends coach for us when I was with Green Bay. And that book is spot on. He paid attention to detail, which is why he's been in this game so long as a very successful coach.
Deep shot, incomplete, intended for more. Flag on the play. Charles Washington there in coverage. Now Mike Sherman, who is the head coach at Texas A&M.
Pass interference. Defense, number 28, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Tim DeRuyter was his defensive coordinator, and I remember having the Aggies of Texas A&M a couple years ago, and both Tim DeRuyter and Mike Sherman said, the guy from your hometown, Kerrville, Texas, who is running our scout team right now as he's sitting out, named Johnny Manziel, he's doing pretty good. He has a good chance of starting next year. Mike Sherman and that A&M staff was let go. Tim DeRuyter got the head coaching job at Fresno State. Kevin Sumlin and his staff ended up in the move to the SEC, and the rest is Johnny football history.
But it wasn't a layup for Johnny football. Remember, there was a quarterback battle all the way up until about the first week of the season. It wasn't a layup that he was a starter. Imagine how different history would have been.
And now when does he start for the Cleveland Browns? That's the next question.
After they get through these first 3 or 4 weeks with those murderous row of defenses they're going to face.
Armstrong pulls it to the 45. This is third down for Nebraska. Tim DeRuyter is actually an Air Force Academy graduate, served 7.5 years in the Air Force. Was Air Force Academy defensive coordinator under Troy Calhoun before the Texas A&M stint. He is undefeated as a head coach, but Bulldogs are down 34-5. Nebraska 3rd and 3 here. Armstrong, complete, first down. I said Tim DeRuyter undefeated as a head coach. I meant undefeated at home as a head coach. Overall, Fresno State's won 13 straight at home.
They play tough here. It's a tough place to play, particularly at night. This team is extremely well supported in this community. And that record is very important to these guys. They said that that was a rallying cry and something that they very much wanted to defend. They take their home record and their ability to be able to have that advantage here seriously.
Nothing doing there for Abdullah on first down. Jeff Camilli.
Yeah, really nice job by Jeff Camilli of anticipating what the play was going to be, and when the door opened and the window showed itself, he flashed through it, was able to find his way behind the line of scrimmage. Pretty nice almost tackle there by the center, Mark Pelini.
Yeah, nice time. Empty look for Nebraska on 2nd and 11. Armstrong, flag down, runs into the umpire. Give the umpire half a tackle on that one as Armstrong gets to the 49. Brandon Hughes finishes it off.
Well, speaking of tackling, there was an actual tackle on that one. That was quite a hold there up front.
Holding, offense, number 56, 10-yard penalty, repeat, second down.
It's 2 plays in a row, Carter, that Mark Pelini got himself out of position. And when you do that as an offensive lineman, it's very hard to recover. Just simply gets bull rushed. And that's the old move. That's what you want to do. You pull the defensive lineman down on top of you. But the officials are getting pretty savvy. They caught him red-handed, literally.
2nd and 21 here for Armstrong. Incomplete behind Tariq Allen. Oh, you've spoken like an offensive lineman there. You have some sympathy for Mark Pelini.
Yeah, I haven't been there a whole lot, but when I was, that was the go-to move. If you're getting bull rushed and you're losing your balance, just pull them down on top of you and hope the quarterback can step out of the way.
Mark Pelini, the senior from Youngstown, Ohio, Cardinal Mooney, Bo Pelini's nephew. Off the play fake on 3rd and 21. Armstrong is going to heave it long inside the 10. It is Alonzo Moore. "55 yards, Armstrong to Alonzo Moore."
Carter, the amount of red jerseys around that football, 4-1. There is no reason why Moore should have came down with that football. That's just bad
On the
play.
field was a completed catch. The play is under further review.
Just bad play on the back end by the Bulldogs. Carter, they only rushed 3 that time, did the Bulldogs, and they dropped 8. 3 deep, 5 underneath. But somehow Moore was the player that came down with it.
Do we see it hit the ground?
From that angle, it's hard to tell. It certainly looked like it was going to, but it wasn't definitive. Let's see if this look gives us a better shot at it. Curtis Riley gets his left hand on it. I don't think that's a catch, buddy. The ball's moving around, seeming to be on the ground. Watch Riley right there. That move right there jars it loose and makes it hard for Moore to be able to come down with the ball. I may have spoken too quickly.
Have to control it through contact, control it through the catch. Looks like it hits the ground there, and this 55-yarder may be coming back.
I think it is as well. I apologize, Curtis Riley. Nice playing the ball, buddy.
As it stands now, another explosive play for this Nebraska offense, but let's see if the 55-yarder is in fact an incomplete pass.
That's really been the story of tonight's game, Carter. Has been the explosive plays by Nebraska. Whether it's been on the ground or through the air, the Cornhuskers have been extremely explosive. 6 plays of 20 yards or more tonight. And Fresno State has only had 3. It's been a big reason why the scoreboard looks the way that it does.
This would be the 7th, but here's
After
the call.
review, the receiver did not control the pass. It is an incomplete pass. It is 4th down at the Nebraska 38-yard line.
Nice play by Curtis Riley there, Aaron.
Unbelievable job. The way he broke on the ball and attacked it. That's the way you want to play DB, Carter.
Knocking it away from Alonzo Moore
Please
inside the
reset
10.
the game clock to 5 minutes, 31 seconds. 5-3-1. Thank you.
The game clock operator keeps trying to sneak some seconds away from the clock, but back to 5:31. So Fresno State gets a stop. Bolts back out there to punt.
Please reset the game clock to 5 minutes, 31 seconds. Thank you.
Bolts, who earned a scholarship this year, the sophomore from Grand Island, Nebraska. 6 kicks last week against McNeese State. Big Ten special teams player of the week. Good one there, hanging Williams back at the 5. Kendrick Williams across the 20. Here's Williams, finally wrestled down by the punter Foltz at the 22. 57-yard punt, 18-yard return. Bulldog football down 34-5. The last time that Fresno State lost at home here at Bulldog Stadium back to November 2011. Close at the half, but then Matt Faulkner leading the charge for San Jose State, 363 passing yards to beat Fresno State 27-24. The Bulldogs have won 13 straight at home since then. Only Northern Illinois' 27-game home winning streak is longer than the Bulldogs. Obviously, that is in serious jeopardy here in the third with the Huskers up 34-5.
It appears San Jose State has been a thorn in the side of Fresno State in a lot of ways in the last few years, Carter.
Last year, regular season, Fresno State was on the verge of a BCS berth in the last year of the BCS. San Jose State knocked him out. Harper makes the catch. It's out of bounds. Mitchell on the stop. Looking ahead to November 8th. That game will be here on CBS Sports Network.
Sorry about that, buddy. Josh Harper's had a fair amount of catches tonight. I believe that that's his 9th, but he just hasn't had any room to run after he's caught it.
Indeed, 9th catch for Harper. Burrell pulls it. Brian Burrell, longest rush of the night for Burrell, and he is going to take it into the end zone. Finally, Fresno State has a touchdown on the board. 66-yard run for Brian Burrell. Aaron, you pointed out, even though Connett is known as the running quarterback, Burrell has the ability to tuck it and run.
Yeah, he's had some success tonight on these zone reads, and that time Nebraska just overcommitted to it. Burrell made the right read, and it was pay dirt, off to the races.
Croning has the PAT. Burrell 66 yards.
You're going to watch the pursuit here head to that side, but the key guy is right here, the defensive end. When he crashes inside, that tells Burrell that it's a pull read. The end man on the line of scrimmage was chasing Martez Waller. There was nobody in pursuit from that second level. A little bit of stumble out of the defender there. And that was all she wrote. Burrell, some good downfield blocking there. Fresno State needed to play like this early in the first quarter to keep them in this ball game. But when you can run the football like that, Carter, it forces the defense to defend you a little bit differently. It's going to be interesting to see if that's going to open anything for their offense moving forward.
On our conversation with Dave Schramm, offensive coordinator for Fresno State, he said certainly Burrell running the football is a weapon, but Connett's already out of this game. Rib, hand injury. The depth at QB might make you think twice about running your quarterback a whole lot.
Well, if it looks like that, you wouldn't have to run it, worry about it at all. He never got touched, but you're right, and that was part of the challenge with the play calling, is only having one guy that you feel comfortable with under center that's got some experience. It does affect your ability and your comfort level of running the football. Big mistake by Nebraska.
That's Pearsonell, who had the punt return for a touchdown. Talented freshman makes a freshman mistake here.
You have to know where you are at all times on the football field. Just a mishandled football. And then he touches it as he steps out right in front of the official.
So it's out of bounds right at the 1. 2.
You're Fresno State, I think maybe you take a chance here and try and come up with the second safety of the game. Maybe bring a little pressure, as Nebraska is assuredly trying to run this thing.
Amani Cross gets it out to near the 5.
A lot of people think blitzing can only happen on passing downs, but there are run blitzes where you do bring your linebackers up and tell them to hit a certain gap at the snap to be able to try and disrupt those things. They're certainly as risky as the blitzes are on passing downs. But Fresno State needs to be aggressive here.
Cross to the 9-yard line, so breathing room for the Huskers and a chance on 3rd down. Carl Mickelson makes the stop. 3rd and 3.
See, Nebraska's not necessarily running a hurry up, but they're not huddling either. They use hand signals to get their plays in. The remaining crowd here is trying to be loud to make that communication that needs to take place a little bit differently.
Armstrong delivers first down and a big chunk of yards again for Nebraska. 29-yard pickup. Lane Hovey.
We talked about that arm strength of Armstrong, just puts the ball right on the money, and a couple missed tackles. Hovey's off to the races.
Now, and a chance for Fresno State to get some momentum. A touchdown. Nebraska backed up to its own 2. And the Huskers back out to midfield and a chance to run the football again. Amani Cross shaking his way free. Cross joins the Husker touchdown party in Fresno. A 62-yard touchdown run for Amani Cross. The junior from Georgia, the latest Nebraska player with an explosive touchdown tonight. Drew Brown's PAT makes it 41-12.
Carter just over pursuit. They're going to pull the right guard on a simple power. Double teams on the play side. But Deron Smith runs himself out of that gap in that hole. By the time he gets back, Cross is off to the races. They ran motion there, and they were in man coverage, and they tried to respect it, thinking it was going to be a speed sweep, and then they just ran power. Basic high school football play up inside, but ran it to perfection.
Second touchdown of the year for Amani Cross. He had 10 a year ago as a sophomore. Nebraska has some options at running back with Abdullah and all that he's capable of, and then the 6'1", 230-pound Amani Cross.
And he is a physical inside runner. His mom was on Twitter this week trying to convince the coaches to give her son a little bit more playing time. I'm thinking Mrs. Cross is going to be pretty happy with that last run.
Capping the quick 98-yard scoring drive for Nebraska. So again, the Bulldogs get a touchdown, their first on offense. Have Nebraska backed up at the 2. And yet there's 7 more points on the board for the Cornhuskers. Bondi's kick scooped up inside the 5. This is Damari Scott upended as he gets across the 20. Get it started with prime time Adam Shine. That other pregame show. Former NFL Ironman London Fletcher joins Anita Marks, Brandon Tierney, Amy Trask, and Adam Shine. That other pregame show tomorrow morning, 9 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.
They have fun on that show, man.
Yes, they do.
I enjoy watching that.
Got a big kick out of seeing Adam Shine dressed up as Santa Claus last year for a variety of reasons.
There is nothing that my man will not do for a yuckity yuck.
Blitz coming. Burrell sacked again. The Huskers are getting after Brian Burrell. This time it's McMullen and Cockrell. Third sack.
And it's just not fair putting an offensive lineman trying to block a speed rusher like Cockrell on that outside edge. It's such a mismatch. And unfortunately for Fresno State, Carter, they haven't been able to take advantage of the coverage and the softness when they bring those blitzes to force Nebraska to stop doing it.
Josh Quezada, nothing there. Randy Gregory on the stop. Burrell sacked 3 times tonight. Ooh, those numbers aren't good.
No, Carter. And 3 + 7 + 1 is 11, and that matches the number of sacks that Fresno State gave up for the entire season last year.
Things not going well for the Bulldogs in 2014. incomplete. Now, the good news for Fresno State is it's not USC, Utah on the road. Nebraska, a clearly focused Nebraska team tonight. I mean, goal number 1 for Tim DeRuyter and the Bulldogs remains Mountain West Conference Championship. Mountain West Conference play begins September 26th at New Mexico. Last year they won the league outright. First time since 1989 that Fresno State has won a league title outright. They won the first Mountain West Conference Championship game. So the big goals are still ahead for Fresno State, but obviously a lot needs to get better.
Yeah, they were the preseason.
Timeout, Nebraska. Their first 30-second timeout.
They were the preseason favorite to win their division by a lot. And you know he has to be frustrated, Tim DeRuyter, their head coach, about the way things have started out. Certainly they didn't do themselves any favors with the scheduling, but I don't care who it is you play, you can't expect production like this.
Now, Tim DeRuyter in the first 2 years, tremendous success. Is he 13-0 undefeated at home? They shared the Mountain West Conference title 2 years ago, won it outright last year. Won 9 games in his debut as a head coach in 2012. That was the most wins by a debut head coach in the FBS in 2012. Pearsonell from right around the 25 gets to the 30.
Well, first it looked like Fresno State was going to come out in the second half and get things going. Burrell with the long touchdown run on a zone read, and then Nebraska makes a mistake running out of bounds, but then it was the big back Amani Cross with the long run off the power where Nebraska regained control. Too many explosive plays by the Cornhuskers have proven to be a lot for Fresno State to handle. Look at that third quarter, Carter. Man.
12 yards of offense for Fresno State in the third. It was on 1 pass completion, the only pass completion by Brian Burrell. 12 yards. That's it for the Bulldogs.
You learn a lot about yourselves and your team in situations like this. You see who's hustling, who's flying around to the football. I haven't seen anybody quit. Guys are still playing hard. They've got some backups in there now for Fresno State. But this is a proud football team who's used to winning.
Armstrong goes flying to the 35. Well, a 41-12 football game. You're just talking about who's still going full steam. Tommy Armstrong Jr.
He loves that zone read, showing you that vertical ability. It's 41-12 here at the end of the third quarter. Tommy Armstrong's going to be crucial for this team moving forward for this season, and I think a lot of Nebraska's success this year will depend on this young man. Only a sophomore, got a lot of football ahead of him. But if Nebraska's going to compete for the Big Ten title, they need a great season from number 4.
Timeout on the
At the end of the third, 41-12, Nebraska on Fresno State. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Fourth quarter at Bulldog Stadium in Fresno, California. It is the Huskers 41-12 on Fresno State. 15 minutes away from snapping Fresno State's 13-game home winning streak. Carter Blackburn, Aaron Taylor, Jamie Erdahl. First play of the fourth quarter is 3rd down and 5 for Tommy Armstrong Jr. and the Husker offense. Down the seam, knocked away on a dangerous pass. Shannon Edwards knocks it away.
For one of the first times tonight, Carter, we see really nice tight coverage out of that secondary for Fresno State. Armstrong really not having a viable option and a location to be able to throw that football. Good, tough defense by the Bulldogs.
Tommy Armstrong, junior sophomore from Cibolo Steele High School. Led Cibolo Steele to a 5A Division II championship. That's Texas, San Antonio area. Well, Pelini said we loved the way he competed, the way he led his team to that state title. One of the big reasons why Nebraska recruited him. Another great punt from Sam Foltz. The sophomore is turning into a punting star for the Huskers. That one 59 yards for Sam Foltz. Tommy Armstrong Jr. is, if Nebraska hangs on, is going to go 5-0 as a starter in road games for the Huskers since taking over at quarterback last year following Taylor Martinez's foot injury.
And that'll make them 10-1 overall. And those road numbers oftentimes that the stat sheet doesn't show, but are so critical, and I think really speaks to what the coaches saw in him as a young recruit.
Led the Huskers to the Gator Bowl win over Georgia. Burrell hands off to Root. On the sweep, dropped. Terrific open field tackle by Chris Jones, the true freshman from Jacksonville, Florida.
And Jones beat Josh Harper that time out on the outside edge in the perimeter. Just makes a nice open field tackle as they were trying to run a speed sweep to try to circle that defense.
Burrell, the junior quarterback from Bakersfield, from his own end zone, checks down. Waller wrestled down. Boy, Nebraska doing some tackling. That's Trevor Roach, the senior from Elkhorn, Nebraska.
Not only are they doing some good tackling, Carter, but watch the coverage. There's nowhere else to go. To Burrell's credit, he throws the ball and checks it down because there's tight coverage. There's nowhere else for him to go with that football. It's making me emotional up here.
The dust has been flying around Fresno, California all day. Temperatures over 100 degrees all weekend long. Burrell from the end zone again, incomplete, off the hands of Dylan Root. Only one completion in the second half.
Yeah, it hadn't been very pretty for this Bulldog offense. Just got to keep your head up and keep chipping away and trying to execute. They're going to turn this film back on tomorrow whenever they watch it and see a lot of cheese left on the table, if you will. Some of the mistakes that they've had tonight are extremely correctable. They just need to get it right before they start conference play.
Garrett Swanson. Scooped up by Pearsonell. Fumbles the football, recovered by Nebraska. Well, Pearsonell giveth and Pearsonell taketh away. Courtney Love jumping on top of that football after Pearsonell. Still all Huskers. Nebraska 41-12 on Fresno State. Aaron, it is time for you to take us through what you've expected tonight with Oh Yeah Aaron.
Well, the coaches told us this week in their meetings that they wanted to feed Amir Abdullah. He was explosive tonight, doing what he does. And speaking of explosivity, Carter, the Cornhuskers, 8 plays of 20 or more yards. But what really surprised me was Nebraska's special teams. They had a safety on a punt return for a touchdown, and a missed field goal. Coach Pelini challenged them the week before McNeese State. Felt like the special teams really didn't show up, but he felt like they responded. They've had some good and some bad there tonight.
Abdullah gets maybe a yard. By the way, Louis Bonnet in Lake Charles, Louisiana says McNeese. I'm just tossing it out there.
Semantics, my friend. The third phase, special teams, is often overlooked and underappreciated. It's only about 20% of all football plays, but those 20% are extremely important, as we've seen tonight.
Armstrong zips it in there, complete. That's Hovey again. Sophomore from Adel, Iowa.
These receivers have done an exceptional job tonight of finding the holes behind this blitzing defense. They're playing zone behind it, just sitting in the holes, and Armstrong doing a nice job of getting rid of the football on time and locating the football in a location where his receivers can run after the catch.
From the 39, Armstrong, Abdullah breaking it outside, inside the 25.
One of the things you notice on film about Nebraska is that they'll run stretch plays into the boundary. You just stretch the defense out and try to get a hat on a hat, and when you're patient, the holes open up. Then it's just about kicking it into gear and getting those yards.
Newby in the backfield with Armstrong. That's Terrell Newby. Not much there. Amir Abdullah over 100 yards again. 19th time in his Husker career he's gone over 100 yards.
Carter, I know the premium on running backs in the NFL isn't what it used to be. And with him being undersized, a lot of people question his ability to be able to play on the next level. But I would compare him to an Andre Ellington, maybe a little bit better skilled Andre Ellington. And there was a guy from my era, Warwick Dunn, who had tremendous set of skills that played in the NFL for a long time. I think Amir Abdullah could really be one of those players.
Armstrong, that's caught. Touchdown, Nebraska. Sam Cotton into the end zone. 23 yards. Jake and Sam celebrate together in the end zone. And somewhere Ben Cotton is celebrating along with them.
Live by the blitz and you die by the blitz. It's hard to believe that somebody can come that wide open, but Nebraska seemed to have found a way to do that all night.
Drew Brown's PAT makes it 48-12. Nebraska on Fresno State. Armstrong to Sam Cotton into the end zone. From the get-go, huge plays for the Nebraska offense today. It began with a 70-yard touchdown, Armstrong to Westerkamp, and they have kept it rolling.
Yeah, then it was Amir Abdullah's turn to take the rock and do what he does best, which is find the end zone.
Then it was Armstrong, Kenny Bell. That one went for 37, an 86-yard punt return for a touchdown from DeMornay Pearson-L. Amani Cross breaks the 62-yard touchdown run. I mean, piling on the numbers. Stunning for Nebraska. This is vintage Husker numbers.
Over 500 yards of offense, Carter, and it's been characterized by big plays tonight. Nebraska has just simply been too explosive when they've had the ball. And unfortunately for Fresno State, that hadn't been the case.
Well, Fresno State a year ago was Mountain West Conference champs and still going by the mantra they had under Pat Hill, the successful head coach here before Tim DeRuyter took over, of anyone, anywhere, anytime. But when that's at USC, at an improving Utah, and a Nebraska team, this is a different looking Nebraska team from a week ago.
Yeah.
In Lincoln when they nearly got beat.
They certainly looked more focused and came out to play. And Fresno State, on the other hand, only having the arm of Burrell to rely on tonight and not the legs of Brandon Connett. But Burrell showing you that he had a little gas in his tank as we see Martez Waller here.
That's the junior from Georgia. Picks up about 8.
I mean, Carter, we're talking about this offense, though. I mean, not only did they lose Derek Carr, but we mentioned it earlier, Isaiah Burst, Devontae Adams. I mean, that was some serious production in this offense. the defense is what's been a little bit surprising, that they haven't fared as well. They really struggled at the quarterback position a year ago. And that really hasn't seemed to have kind of improved through these first 3 games.
Fresno State's run 75 plays tonight. They're on pace to be right around 100 again. A hurry-up offense for Fresno State, even though there's only one touchdown on the board for Fresno State. Up to Williams again on first down. Lost some yards, and there's another injured Husker. It's Kevin Williams who's down, and Williams, who's battled knee injuries, was a question mark tonight. Has played and played well for Nebraska, but he is down on the turf here in Fresno.
Yeah, he had a bone bruise that he's been battling through, and talking with Coach Pelini earlier this week, he said that he was 50-50. They really like Kevin Williams, the junior out of Holland, Ohio.
And discussing pace of play and where the game is going. Saw Randy Edsall earlier today, the Maryland head coach after West Virginia ran 108 plays. Said, I really don't think it's right for the game of football to be able to run 108 plays in the game. We had that discussion with Bo Pelini this week about where do you think the game is headed. Of course, he's a former defensive coordinator, so obviously with the game slanting way towards offense. But he had an interesting point. Bo Pelini said, we tend to try and solve things in college sports on conference levels and going through, you know, conferences. We maybe need to come together like a national summit to talk about. It's tipped and incomplete at the line. About the safety issues in the game, about the pace of play in the game, and try and solve it that way rather than through some NCAA committees and conferences. Maybe coaches, administrators, everybody, we need to get together in the offseason and talk it through.
That sounds good on the chalkboard, Carter. But that would be tough to get all those competing interests in the same room, because everybody's coming with a different agenda. What's best for Conference A isn't necessarily the best thing for Conference B.
Burrell completes to the outside, converting on third down.
But I agree with you. It's an interesting time in college football. We're seeing a lot of changes with the pace of the game. And when you combine that with the concussion discussion that's happening and trying to make the game a safer game, the bottom line is hurry-up offenses and lots of points are what fans want to see. They like it. So that makes old traditionalists and the blue-collar defensive coaches a little unnerved.
Back-to-back completions to Delvon Hardaway from Burrell. High snap, Corral. Incomplete on first down. So some of the points of emphasis this year are about pace of play, and that's not necessarily trying to slow things down. It's about officials trying to keep up with the pace of play. The most important or maybe controversial rule was trying to slow down the pace of play as a safety issue. It's going to be revisited by the Rules Committee as to whether there is a rule to slow down offenses, allow more substitution on defense. But as of now, the rules clearly favor the offense, especially if you're going hurry up like Fresno State is. Burrell chased, gets rid of it.
And the data supports that as well for the offenses, because there's just nothing to suggest that the game played at a faster rate is more dangerous. In fact, there's contradictory evidence that supports that there are less injuries when you play faster, ironically. So it's an interesting time again, and I think Coach Pelini is right that there needs to be these ongoing discussions. The bottom line is we need this game to stay true to its roots and have the integrity that created it to be a tough physical game, but we also need to make sure that the young men that play it are safe.
Burrell pressured, harassed, dropped back at the 46. A gang of Nebraska defenders, including Courtney Love and Marcus Newby.
Just simply nowhere for Burrell to be able to throw this football. The pressure flashes in his face and the pursuit just continues. And man, this is an extremely experienced Fresno State offensive line that through 3 games, Carter, has really struggled. And I think a big reason why is because the quarterbacks, and tonight it's Burrell just simply haven't had places to be able to throw the football. He's had to pull it down and hold it. So sacks aren't necessarily always on the offensive line. Backs can miss pickups and quarterbacks can hold the football.
Delay game. Offense, 5-yard penalty. Remains 4th down.
One other note on tempo and pace of play and number of plays. Go back to the 1960s. Bill Yeoman's Houston Cougar teams were routinely going over 100 plays back in the 60s, and they weren't the only ones. So it's not something that's brand new to college football.
The more this game changes, the more it stays the same.
Pearsonell, fair catch inside the 15. Nebraska looking to close out a win in Fresno.
We are back in Fresno. Hopefully you remember this wonderful video back in the spring game for Nebraska in 2013. The entire team blocked for Jack Hoffman, the big Husker fan who was able to score a touchdown in that 2013 game. The entire team supporting him then. Unfortunately, last month, Jack found out that his cancer has indeed returned, but Nebraska's support hasn't wavered. Bo Pelini and the entire team sending him a video just telling Jack, quote, as a football team, they're friends. They are here to support Jack. We want him to remain strong. Both Kenny Bell and Amir Abdullah calling Jack a warrior, and I would like to think on behalf of Carter, Aaron, and myself, we also hope the best for Jack.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jamie. That was really disturbing news. Know that cancer was back to Jack, but we wish him and his family all the best health-wise in that fight against cancer.
Carter, I remember being a player, we would always have opportunities to do things out in the community and sometimes visit with children that had health opportunities, we would call them. You really enjoyed that. It helped put things in perspective, but you also realized the ability that you had to positively affect people in the community, and it was just another added benefit to a game that's given us so much.
Second down for Nebraska. There's a fumble recovered by Fresno State. Brandon Hughes gets on top of the football, a takeaway for the Bulldogs.
There you go, Bulldogs. This is the 3rd turnover that Fresno State has forced this year. All have been fumble recoveries. And that was Ioane Sagopolu, who got his big old hand in there and stripped that ball free. That's a huge turnover down here in the red zone. Now it's the offense's turn to try and capitalize.
Brian Burrell and the Bulldog offense back out there. Posada inside the 10. Tonight's Red Zone is being brought to you by Verizon. 2 trips to the red zone without a touchdown for Fresno State tonight. After they had been perfect for the first 2 games, when they did get inside opponents' 20s.
They can still get a first down, so they don't have to get all the way into the end zone here, Carter.
Burrell to the end zone anyway. Touchdown, Fresno State. Delvon Hardaway, the redshirt freshman, with his first collegiate touchdown grab.
Burrell had to have some confidence in Hardaway. Throwing that back shoulder, he threw it up high where his guy could go get it. He had a check down that was right in front of him and opted to not go for it. And found the open man for 6 points.
Cody Cronin, PAT. Well, the Fresno State defense gets a takeaway. Brian Burrell into the end zone. Hardaway makes the grab. Touchdown, Fresno State. The spirit still alive for the Fresno State Bulldogs, despite the 48-19 score. Nebraska on Fresno State. Quarterback Aaron Taylor, Jamie Erdahl.
Timeout, Nebraska. Their second. 30-second timeout.
Timeout prior to receiving the kickoff.
Yeah.
I thought the official was going to say it's time to reset the game clock. Nebraska upcoming schedule. All right, 2-0, closing in on 3-0. Out of conference, Miami next week, and then the 27th Big Ten play begins with Illinois.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy road for them because of what they've got to do on the road. October 4th at Michigan State and November 15th at Wisconsin. If Tanner McAvoy can continue to throw the football like he has with that running game with Melvin Gordon, it could make it tough. But this is a young and talented team, and there's a lot of weakness in this Big Ten conference. If there ever was a year that Nebraska could get this thing done, it certainly would be 2014, Carter.
Now we see why the timeout for Nebraska there. They were not set up for the onside kick.
Covers the onside kick. And Bulldogs 44.
Please take 1 second off the clock. Please take 1 second off.
Some folks having fun with the resetting of the game clock tonight. This is Riker Fife quarterbacking Nebraska. Newbie straight ahead. So for Fresno State, I mean, the non-conference has been rough. The loss at USC, at Utah, blowout fashion. Now Nebraska, the hope was you come home where you're undefeated last couple of seasons, but it's been Nebraska rolling over Fresno State. The Mountain West Conference play begins on the 26th at New Mexico.
Yeah, and it's going to be important for them to get a victory over Southern Utah next week to somehow get some sort of a semblance of confidence before they head into conference play. When you start to lose and nothing's going right, it can cause problems in the locker room and make guys start to question what's being done, the decisions and those sort of things. And I don't think Tim DeRuyter's lost his team by any stretch of the imagination. This is a proud group of senior veteran guys, a lot of leadership on this team. They just simply haven't executed, Carter, as well as they've needed to be successful.
Draw for Fife, third down. Wrestle down around the 26. First down, Nebraska. Riker Fife goes scrambling. Dalen Jones finally makes the stop.
That time Fresno State was in a blitz. They run a stunt up front, which again is crisscrossing of the defensive linemen. But what that does is it gets guys out of their passing lanes. And because of the coverage they were in, there was nobody in pursuit. And Fife was able to scramble and pick up a nice gain.
Sophomore from Grand Island, Nebraska, just west of Lincoln. Fife placed on scholarship prior to this season, that is. 12-yard pickup for Riker Fife. Newbie. Terrell Newbie, the sophomore from LA.
Newbie had 100 yards in the first game of the season against FAU. Explosive player, a lot of speed. I think when Amir Abdullah moves on to the NFL next year, Terrell Newbie and Amani Cross are going to be a nice 1-2 punch for Cornhusker fans to be able to watch play the game. Edge pressure.
There's Newbie out of the backfield for another Nebraska first down near the 10.
Now that ball had some mustard on it, Carter, and that's one of the things that is so impressive with all these backs for Nebraska is how good their hands are. They throw a lot of checkdowns and try to get the football into the hands of their best playmakers out in space. It's a recipe that a lot of spread type offenses that have option elements to them try to utilize. And again, Newby's going to be somebody with a little bit of maturity that I think is going to turn into a really nice player.
First down from the 12. Maybe a yard. Nothing to go bananas over, but some solid production from the backups for Nebraska, both offense and defense. I mean, you talked about how you second half you start to in a game like this, it's 48-19 now. You do some evaluating of your twos.
Yeah, and get those guys some reps and experience. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, Fife could literally be one play away from being the starter, so getting reps and real live action is very helpful down the road.
Zips it to the end zone, caught, touchdown, Nebraska. Bailey makes the grab. Christian Bailey, the redshirt freshman, has his first touchdown as a Nebraska Cornhusker, 11 yards from Riker Fife. Missing a special teams player. Brown gets the PAT through. 55-19 Nebraska on Fresno State.
Christian Bailey's up here at the top of the screen. You see the defender has inside leverage on him because he doesn't want him to be able to run inside. But this is a nice route. He just slips in underneath him, and a perfectly thrown football for the touchdown.
Second time this year that Nebraska has scored 55 in a game. They had 55 in the opener versus Florida Atlantic. 556 yards of offense for the Huskers tonight. And the Nebraska fans who made the trip out to Fresno, California are enjoying this one. There's going to be no nail biter like there was a week ago in Lincoln. All Nebraska from the get-go. I mean, the big question was, would the scare against the Cowboys of McNeese State, would that get the focus of the Nebraska Cornhusker football team? And the answer clearly has been yes. Solid from the get-go. Touchback. Well, when we are done with this late night ball game between Nebraska and Fresno State, Brent and Christian just getting it started. Inside College Football is coming up next on CBS Sports Network. So get another pot of coffee going. Time to get caught up on everything that happened in this college football. What biggest takeaways for you from this Saturday of college football?
Again, you got to be ready to play every Saturday. Virginia Tech and USC clearly weren't. USC had to travel across the country and found a way to get itself beat. They had a lot of expectations. But I think it's going to be some interesting races in the SEC with Georgia going down and putting South Carolina a game and a half ahead in the driver's seat there. The Big Ten is wide open.
That's Burrell complete again.
But I think the Big 12, Carter, as well, is going to be an interesting race to watch. Taylor Kelly from Arizona State went down with the right foot. Brett Hundley injuring what looked to be his elbow today. Oregon really seems to be the cream of the crop in that conference. There may not be anybody there that can challenge them. Everybody's going to be looking at who are going to get those 4 seats in the playoff. I think that November 8th game between Oklahoma and Baylor will have a lot to say with that.
So eyes on the Big 12 now with Oklahoma and Baylor. Burrell on second 3. It's incomplete. It's So here's the top 10. You see the big result, of course, was the SEC East matchup between Georgia and South Carolina. But 9th-ranked USC loses at BC.
Keep your eye on Florida State. I'm not sold on them being a team that can run the table. I know the ACC isn't as strong as most of the other conferences, but I think a Clemson or a Virginia Tech are good enough to be able to put a game together. And remember, Notre Dame gets them in the middle of the year as well. That's a game that they got to be on the lookout for. That's why I love the game of college football, Carter. Nobody does what they're supposed to do. It's very rare that things happen the way that we expect them to.
The big one in the ACC next weekend is Clemson, Florida State in Tallahassee.
Them at home coming off a bye is going to be hard for Clemson to be able to do. But you mark my words, Florida State's going to go down this year in a game that they should.
Consider those words marked. It's out of bounds right around the 13. So here is the updated errands for playoff teams at this point.
Oregon, I think, still has the best marquee win to date of a non-conference team. They beat Michigan State pretty convincingly. Oklahoma had a nice win over Tennessee today. That game was never really in question. The Sooners look to be strong on both sides of the ball. Florida State, still a very good football team, but not as good as last year. But the Auburn Tigers, man, Gus Malzahn has a juggernaut on his hands. That West race in the SEC is going to be fun to watch this year, buddy.
Third of Nebraska quarterback is Johnny Stanton IV. Redshirt freshman who is from California, Rancho Santa Margarita. So Stanton is in at quarterback. He's the third Husker. Riker Fife had a touchdown, and now Johnny Stanton IV had a huge 2011 year in high school at Catholic High School. Knee injury in 2012, and now his first action as a Nebraska Cornhusker in his home state.
See that big deep breath he just took there. I remember getting my first reps in games, man. Things are moving fast.
For Stanton handing off as Nebraska looks to run the football, run the clock. So biggest takeaway for the Cornhuskers from this win at Fresno State.
Improvement over a week ago. They have the pieces of the puzzle to be able to win the Big Ten Conference, but they're going to have to continue to improve. And they've been inconsistent this year in special teams. One week they're good, one week they're not. They cannot neglect that third phase.
Now the 86-yard touchdown return by DeMornay Pearsonell, but then even Pearsonell in a kick return went out of bounds at the 2 and fumbled.
Had a safety when they could have just downed a punt. Knocked it out of the back of the end zone.
Well, Nebraska's going to go to 3-0. He circuited his route to 3-0. He scored 55 against Florida Atlantic to open up. Nearly get beat at home by McNeese State. And then come out to Fresno, California and snap the 13-game home winning streak that Fresno State took into tonight. Bo Pelini and the Nebraska Cornhuskers are 3-0 in 2014. 55-19 final tonight. Let's take a look at tonight's Dr. Pepper player of the game, Tommy Armstrong Jr. 3 touchdowns overall, 260 yards through the air. That's a career high, 3 touchdown passes for the sophomore from Cibolo, Texas, Steele High School. He is now perfect 5-0 as a starter in road games for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Our Dr. Pepper player of the game.
Didn't have to throw it often, but when he did, he seemed to make it count, finding the end zone 3 different times. And I would say the same was true for his rushing. Those zone reads, he made things happen.
And Jamie is with Tommy Armstrong Jr.
Tommy, What was the message to this team after last week's game as you prepared for Fresno State, and did you accomplish it tonight?
Just come out here with a statement, make sure we're mentally strong, make sure we're just executing the ball on and off the field. And I think we did that today. We left a few, drop passes and stuff like that, missed reads. But as a whole, I think we did what we accomplished last week that we wasn't able to do.
As you near conference play, do you feel like you have the offensive tools to make a run in the Big Ten?
Yes, we do. We had a couple injuries here and there in the beginning, but we had a bunch of guys stepping up, and I feel like, with those guys stepping up and being young and being able to do what they're doing right now, we got a great opportunity.
Speaking of those young guys, when you watch the punt return from that special true freshman that you have returning kicks, how great is it to watch such a young kid?
It's great. Past couple of years, we've averaged probably 3 or 4 yards on punt return, and being able to see him go out there and be fearless about catching those punts and actually making plays and putting the offense in a good position. And after that, we just told him, hey, just put us in the right position, and we're proud of him.
All right, Tommy, thank you.
Thank you.
Tommy Armstrong Jr. and the Nebraska Cornhuskers make their first trip to Fresno, California. Explosive from the get-go, a 55-19 final. The Nebraska Cornhuskers are 3-0. They snap Fresno State's home winning streak at 13 games. Fresno State falls to 0-3. For Aaron Taylor, Jamie Erdahl, our entire crew, I'm Carter Blackburn. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Nebraska rolls in the San Joaquin Valley 55-19. A thundering bounce-back performance from the Cornhuskers. Now we send it to Brent Stover in New York.